What is up, everybody? Appreciate you joining me for this Monday through Friday 8 p.m. show, but a little bit different show this week, or today, versus doing some sort of news show. We hit the news earlier in the day, and now we're here to talk about rookie rankings. We're here to discuss the top 10, well, really probably top 12, almost like a mock draft. Top 12 rookie rankings. We'll talk about Superflex, but these rankings will be one QB, but we'll certainly reference Superflex. The fantasy football show begins right now.
Live from the fantasyfootballshow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday,
8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live whenever news breaks, live for you literally 365 days a year. I maybe one day out of the entire year, I take a break or something during a Sunday off season or something. I don't know. We're live every single day pretty much. We're live multiple times per day, most days. And some days, maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week, we're live 3 or 4 times on different live streams. Breaking news happens, etc., etc. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for rookie ranking talk, and rookie ranking talk alone. Well, essentially, we're here for that. We did have a few pieces of news real quickly. Travis Kelce ended up signing a 2-year extension. We had DEFCON 1 for little Smitty was taking a nap when we went live on that live stream, and she never opened the door. She stayed asleep the whole entire time. But Kelce getting his 2-year deal. Zeke Elliott a 1-year deal. Zeke Elliott's a non-factor. Dallas Cowboys crap in the bed. No running backs to show for. This team is in trouble unless they extend Dak. And even then, they're still in trouble because they have no running attack, and that's why they got knocked out of the playoffs, not because of Dak Prescott. I went through that if you want more on that, and we can talk about it later, but go watch the other stream earlier today. Kelce, I do believe the Chiefs are a strong bet to three-peat, and Kelce has a good shot at having well worth his 4th-round value this year, even if he missed a couple games or started to slow down a little bit. So that was the news today. There's not much news other than Dallas signed Michael Gallup to a deal, a 1-year deal. Let's see here. Or I'm sorry, the Raiders are signing Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup. I'm sorry, Raiders are. Raiders signing Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup. And that's a nothing burger. Next, here we are. Rookie rankings. Number 1 in Superflex or non-Superflex. Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what we're talking about. No matter what, I don't care what your quarterback situation looks like. That's your fault. I'm here to tell you this is the bona fide number 1 overall player in rookie draft, Superflex or non-Superflex. I'd solve my quarterback problem another way. I mean, granted, some of you have zero choice but to go QB, but then I'm probably trading down to at least like the 2 or 3 pick, and even then you might be stuck with a situation where MHJ is sitting there because in your league you go quarterback early in your league or something. But I'm just not going to argue this with anybody. I don't care what your team looks like. Again, that's your own fault. I have a bunch of how to build Superflex drafts. I know some of you already have teams and you need help with those that are already existing and you have no quarterbacks. I'll help you solve those problems. But going forward, no one on my watch will leave round 1 or 2 without an elite quarterback, an elite potential quarterback. You need Mahomes. You need Josh Allen. You need at least a Lamar Jackson. You need somebody of that caliber in a Superflex. And then you have the flexibility to do whatever the hell you want. Try and get the Jordan Loves. The Jordan Love strategy last year, the how to win a Superflex league last year, on the back of Jordan Love as your QB2, absolutely brought home, I can't count how many championships.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
I mean, really, that was probably one of the most pile-drived into the ground Superflex strategies that I deployed all year. Now, granted, I will admit, we had some other, like Trevor Lawrence talk all year, so it's not like, all the later QB success, we smashed everything. But man, Jordan Love was such an amazing call for some of you. And congrats on your Superflex victories. And we're here to run it back again. And I have to tell you, one of the most interesting ways to go about potentially building your Superflex drafts is you grab somebody. We'll find some Jordan Loves, we'll identify some talent, but Justin Fields needs to be in the equation of Superflex building in that second quarterback spot. Okay, so we'll get to that, but let's get to one QB. We'll address Superflex as we go. This is one QB PPR. My number one overall player is Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be, in my opinion, the next elite wide receiver 1 or 2 or 3. Could he dance with JJ if JJ does find good rapport with McCarthy and he ends up surprising? Could he dance with JJ, Lamb, and Jamar Chase in the top 3? So essentially we have a 4-man rotation. Absolutely. There's no way we can't consider that possibility. But I do think that we're looking at a player in Marvin Harrison Jr. that has the ability to actually be in a tier of his own. I think this is a guy that could have 17, 18 touchdowns, those kind of seasons with 1,500 plus yards easily. This is a guy that has the ability to literally lead every single category, receptions, yardage, touchdowns, and do it multiple times. He'll be the yardage leader multiple times. He'll be the touchdown leader multiple times, not 1 year, not 2 years. This guy will be atop a lot of the categories that matter, receptions, yards, and touchdowns on a yearly basis, year over year. He's in the most ideal situation out of any of the rookies, wide receivers that found new homes during this 2024 NFL draft. Neighbors got an awful landing spot for year 1 in New York. At least he's by himself, though. And yeah, while Danny Dimes sucks, they have a rotation. I'm sure Danny Dimes is not even going to be ready for week 1. We'll see what happens, but Neighbors is certainly going to be able to try and consume at least some of the bad errant passes thrown in New York. He'll be able to consume a majority of them. So he will have an opportunity to have big yards. Maybe not touchdowns, but big yards, big reception totals in some games. And at the end of the day, Neighbors has better redraft value than Adunze, because Adunze goes into one of the most crowded wide receiver environments with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, and a rookie quarterback in an offense that is, or in it with a team that has failed to develop the quarterback time and time again. So I much rather have Neighbors in Dynasty, and these are Dynasty rankings, right? But we're going to talk redraft, we're going to talk Superflex. I'm going to try and gloss over all of the different avenues here. At the end of the day, in Dynasty, Neighbors is going to have a QB at some point. He's going to get an upgraded QB situation. He's not going to find himself in a crowded wide receiver room because the Giants are going to address quarterback and other needs before they start pushing more players into this wide receiver room. They still have Hyatt. They like Hyatt. I think Hyatt's a pretty decent wide receiver too. Kind of reminds me of like Downs and Alec Pierce in Indy. Like one of those guys will work out. I believe one of the guys in New York will help keep defenses a little honest, but it is Neighbors that is commanding from the jump this wide receiver room. And I like that from a redraft and a dynasty perspective more than a Dunze situation. I think a Dunze could have more dynasty value in time. It's possible. Keenan Allen might not even be there but 1 year. DJ Moore, who knows what that rapport looks like. I don't know if anybody else noticed this. It could have been just a total misstep on Caleb's part. But when Caleb was talked, I think it was about 24 to 48 hours ago, he was interviewed in regards to his wide receivers and his running backs and his whole arsenal in the offense. And he ended up saying, we've got a Dunze here. We got DeAndre Swift here. We got Cole Kmet here. We got everybody here. And those guys are here. So we're going to, do this. We're going to do that. He didn't mention DJ Moore at all. He went through every offensive weapon but DJ Moore. And so some were speculating that he just misspoke or he forgot or he's nervous or whatever and can't think of everything. And then somebody else, would come in and comment and say, he was vocal about wanting DJ Moore, wanting Fields over drafting Caleb. So is there some bad blood there? Who the hell knows? But he didn't mention DJ Moore's name at all, and he listed off every offensive weapon on the team. And so it was kind of odd. But here we are trying to make sense of these rookies and and the wide receiver 2 and the wide receiver 3 do not have good landing spots. They don't. Even in Dynasty, a Dunze spot is not, right now at least, we could see light. Like there's cloudy murkiness that we can kind of maybe see Allen fall off, and maybe DJ Moore isn't the same player. They get rid of him, or he requests a trade, and this does have some legs to it, or this is a total misstep, and he's fine. DJ Moore's a good receiver. If there's not a problem with DJ Moore, which we can't assume there is, it was one statement that Caleb made, but if we assume DJ Moore and Caleb build a good rapport, I know Dunze and Caleb were on a plane together, okay, on a Friday afternoon or evening, and they kind of bonded like Tank Dell and Stroud did. But we can't just assume their rapport is going to be, absolutely phenomenal. So, from the jump, it could be, it should be, you think it would be, but it's still crowded. And we still are banking on the Bears supporting Caleb enough. I don't know what to tell you other than when I get to 2 and 3 overall and I don't have Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm sitting here saying to myself, give me Marvin Harrison Jr. over the number 2 and the number 3 overall. Remember somebody had that trade opportunity they brought to the table, and they said, Smitty, would you rather have the 1.1 or the 1.2 and 1.3? And I mulled it over for a while. I weighed over it. I ended up saying the 1.1, and then the chat was like, I'd rather have the 2 and the 3. I switched it. I said, you know what? It's risky. We need to make this decision after the draft because the landing spots could totally change this. So we said for now 2 and 3. You want the 2 and the 3 over the 1 because you got to think Neighbors or Dunze, one of them lands in a great spot, and then you get the other option that's going to potentially manifest later. But Neighbors and Dunze both landed in very crappy redraft situations and very still cloudy dynasty situations. I'd take Marvin Harrison Jr. over the 1.2, the 1.3, and the 1.7, let's say. I would take 1.1 over all 3 of those picks if I had to throw it out there. That is how important this situation is in Arizona versus the New York Giants or the Chicago Bears wide receiver rooms. C-Mac in the building says Parasol. I told you guys about Ayuk and C-Mac. I told Raj and the boys about Parasol, McConkey, and who was the other one that I said to Raj in the live stream? That's 2 years, and that's 2 times in a row I've come in and predicted who your wide receiver might be. I love Ricky Parasol. Problem is, you can't use him unless you get rid of one of your receivers. He's a glorified backup. You guys love Jawan Jennings. He's a dog, right? So like Parasol, it's a future move potentially, but the writing's on the wall. This move kind of steps on Deebo Samuel and or Ayuk, but probably Deebo more than Ayuk, if you can even afford Ayuk. But I mean, he's a great receiver. We wanted in Buffalo. He's a great receiver. We wanted somewhere else. I didn't want Ricky Parasol in a crowded Niner wide receiver room unless it clears up. Is there still a shot that maybe Deebo gets traded? I think there's still a possibility, but the options are dwindling down by the second. You look at the best way to look at this. Oh, wrong button, but shameless plug, thefantasyfootballshow.com for all your year-round fantasy football rankings. But if we look at like this NFL draft results tracker, just to get a feel for some of the teams and the spots, and we look at Buffalo, who ended up trading out of this round 1 and taking Keon Coleman. Buffalo and the Baltimore Ravens, maybe. The Ravens took a cornerback, Nate Wiggins, at the 30 pick. That's a place I feel like could be interested in Deebo Samuel. Buffalo, I think, still would have interest in him. But you're losing. Look at all these teams on the board, and imagine their wide receiver rooms, especially when you look at all the wide receivers that win in this actual round 1. And then if we go to round 2, which, let's see here, I could probably put round 2 right here. If we go to round 2, it's a little cram there, I'm sorry. You go to round 2, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey went to the Chargers. Number 37 overall on the left-hand side of the screen, Polk went to the New England Patriots. The spots have kind of vanished for potential Deebo Samuel landing spots. So it's like, I don't know. I wish Parasol went somewhere he could get playing time right away. I wanted him to go to Buffalo. This is a guy I absolutely loved. Anyway, enough of Parasol because he's not going to crack the top 10 dynasty wide receiver rankings, but he is certainly somebody to monitor moving forward and has a ton of upside. And we'll see what happens with Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk as we walk into next offseason. But I still think there's a small shot, small chance that the Deebo still gets moved. I think the Eagles put on a clinic, a master class in this draft. And I don't know if C-Mac, you can admit this. If you seem to be pretty objective sometimes on my show. I don't think you are as much when we're live when Raj's followers are in there. But in here, you seem to say some like Trey Benson to the moon. There you go, Cardinal love right there, and I appreciate that. But I don't know if you will agree that the Eagles were playing like 10D chess with everybody, including the Niners and specifically the Niners during the draft. When that A.J. Brown deal got announced 12 minutes before the draft began, that was like kicking the Niners and trade hopes in the nutsack. And the fact that A.J. Brown, this deal, $84 million guaranteed on a $96 million 3-year extension, which is $33 million a year, that put the likelihood of not only signing Ayuk to a deal this offseason in jeopardy, but it pretty much neutralized and took Ayuk out of all trade talks during the middle of the draft. 12 minutes before the draft, the Eagles dropped this beauty, and they were putting on a masterclass, manipulating everything with this move. And that's why you immediately heard Deebo Samuel actually might be. I went live as soon as this happened, 12 minutes before the draft started, 11 minutes before the draft started. I stood up, I hit my other camera angle, and because I couldn't stand to sit, and I said this. I said, I think Ayuk just got priced out of a trade. I think Deebo's the only one they could trade now. And what happened after the draft? As soon as the draft ended, 4 hours later, Niner pages everywhere and beat writers were saying Deebo's now probably more likely to get traded than Brandon Ayuk. That was insane. This was a masterclass. The Eagles had not only one of the best drafts in the entire National Football League, they drafted probably, you could argue, the two best corners or two of the top three corners, but this was an unbelievable draft. Let's see here. And then there's two extensions, the two corners. It was unbelievable. The Eagles are coming for everybody. And I will say, C-Mac, because I'm a very unbiased man, I will say that the Niners are still a top two, maybe you could say top three, but probably top two. The Eagles are one. Top two team in the NFC. Like, you still have that, but your window's closing. The Eagles just got a whole lot better. The Niners didn't get better. The Niners stayed stagnant. Which doesn't matter, though. Like, I would rather get better. Shanahan and John and the Niners did nothing productive in the offseason. The fact that you guys sat on this Ayuk thing and just created all this turmoil, just like the Deebo Samuel and Bosa situations. Unnecessary. I give you a D- or an F- grade for the offseason on that alone. And then you walk in, and I think you became Panic Peters by taking Parasol. Good pick, good player, but it seemed like you thought you were getting a trade done. Buffalo kept scooting down. They moved out of round one because round one is day one, and they tried to maybe the Bills and the Niners stall and have trade talks the entire evening and morning and afternoon leading into day two. I think we both know the Bills probably dropped down for that reason, and I think we both know that Dijon announcement may have been something that was getting kicked around, and the Niners quickly panicked and went Parasol. There's no other explanation for Dijon being announced as the pick, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. It was very, very odd. Okay, enough of that. We're back on the rankings. Trey Benson is my number 4 overall Dynasty rookie player. Trey Benson lands with the Cardinals. I said before the draft, this is not just me being biased after the fact or something. I said before the draft began that Houston and the Arizona Cardinals and maybe even Washington would be the most attractive, cloudy situations where Soon the dust is going to settle and the starting lineup is going to be open, vacant, and very, very, very good offense. Deceptively amazing. And Connor's 29 years old, I believe, in a couple days. He's going to enter this season at 29 years of age. He's had trouble staying healthy his entire career. He was awful, pitiful, dreadful the first half of the year. And then after the bye week, he had a little string of very good production, like running back 5, running back 3. I think I have it here. I drag it on the screen every once in a while, and I forget which one it is. I think here it is, James Conner. So you can see he was running back 20, running back 15, running back 6. That week 3 was good. But then he was 36, 38, missed week 6, missed week 7, missed week 8, missed week 9. Running back 34, running back 27, running back 40, running back 5. So he had a week 6 and a week 5. Those are 2 good weeks, but this is dreadful. And then the 4 missed games, and he's always getting banged up. And then he goes into the bye, comes off the bye, decent week 11, or running back 11 and week 15. And then he has this little string here, and week 18 is hard to count, but running back 4, and then week 18, who the hell knows? Running back 1 doesn't really mean much to me. This is starting, ending the season with momentum, which is good for him. But the odds of him staying healthy, the odds of him at 29 years of age, holding off a young, exciting Trey Benson that's got a lot of Breece Hall to his game. I don't think he'll ever be Breece Hall. He's definitely a step below Breece Hall. I think he could be Marshawn Lynch. I think Breece Hall could be running back 1 overall. He was running back 2 last year. So Breece Hall could be running back 1 overall. Breece Hall's the new Christian McCaffrey. Bijan Robinson's also the new, somewhat a different version, but the new Christian McCaffrey. And now you have this guy, Benson, that's going to be in that Marshawn Lynch territory. If you remember back when Marshawn Lynch would get drafted, it'd be like number 8 overall, number 12 overall, number 14 overall. Kind of think where Najee was getting drafted his rookie year and going into his second year. It was like an 8 to 14 overall player. That's kind of what I see for Benson, and that's amazing. So if Benson's going to go in the 8 to 14 overall territory, he's a top 10 running back for the future. He's in an amazing, absolutely fantastic offense, and he has the ability to catch passes and be that kind of morphed version, that dual threat, that absolute, even though he didn't have the biggest receiving numbers, he was still very effective, and he's shown he has hands. They just didn't throw to him as much as they could have, but they definitely used him. I'm not concerned about him being a 3-down back at all. I absolutely love this number 4 ranking for Trey Benson. And dare I say it's a little bold? Dare I say you probably will want to, I don't know, trade down 1 or 2 picks if you can, unless you're drafting like 4 or 5 days or 4 or 5 weeks from now or some crazy, you can see his value climb. I did 4 best ball drafts earlier. The Best Ball Manias are up. Make sure you click the link in the description if you're watching the replay of the video, or in the case of in the live stream, you can click this link right now that I'm dropping in the live chat. Sign up under the link. The link will insert code Smitty for you. Code Smitty will get you up to $100 bonus match on your first deposit. The bare minimum is $10. That's all you need to deposit to play Underdog Fantasy. The $25 contest, the Best Ball Mania, with $1.5 million in prizes, kicked off today, and I did 4 of them. I did 1 on the live stream. I did 3 others just to get a feel for ADPs, and Trey Benson was going in around 6 and 7 like clockwork. So somebody asked me on the earlier stream before those Best Ball Manias dropped, they said, "Hey, Smitty, where do you think Benson's going to go?" And I said, I don't know. I mean, I think Connor will go ahead of him. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think maybe that he could go as early as 6, 7, 8. I don't know. It depends. And it looks like his ADP's already in the 6, 7 territory. Could even climb higher than that. But Benson is, dare I say, a league winner. Benson is a Mars man extraordinaire. Benson's going to get his own video animation. Benson is my favorite league-winning running back 2 in fantasy football 2024.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men. Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly
Look
in
at him.
space.
Look at him. And look at this Mars men list, by the way. 2 Cardinals are on it. On top of that, we have our Revenge Tour group, which I honestly think if Kyler's not on it, Kyler's got to be thrown on the Revenge Tour group. I think that's almost a must at this point. Let me see if I can get Kyler Murray on this.
The stack above all stacks.
We got Kyler over here on the stack above all stacks for the quad stack anyway. This is a fantastic stack in fantasy. And if we go back to the Revenge Tour. Yeah, I don't know. Cousins, we almost have to put Cousins on there, but like we almost have to put Cousins on there with like Penix over his shoulder. But I mean, damn, those are some good looking lists. And then of course the Saturn Man looks good. The Moon Man is very, very thin because we've moved people into the Mars Man. And so we have a lot of work to do. I'm actually kind of excited. I was, at one point, I thought we were going to fill up the Moon Man and Mars Man and Saturn Man list, and we have filled the Mars Man and Saturn Man for the most part. A couple more Moon Man can be added, but we have a whole almost blank Moon Man list. I'll hit that list right here.
The Moon Man.
So Penix Jr. is a long-term Moon Man. I put him on the moon, and I wanted to, I wanted to clarify his situation when I put him on here. So he's kind of like in a weird little tier on the side, but the Moon Man list is empty. It's got Zamir White. We got a lot of players we can add to this list, so I got a lot of work to do, which excites me because I was getting a little depressed thinking that I had to like bump people off, or we were very close to closing out the Moon Man list. But the Revenge Tour, we got the mid-season monsters. We definitely need to add Penix Jr. to that because I think he is a big candidate to be a mid-season monster. Malachi Corley, I think he still could be worthy of being a mid-season monster. Adunze, I think, is a good bet to be a mid-season monster just because of injury strikes. Then we start seeing Adunze. Hollywood Brown. Spears definitely remains on this list. Penix Jr. will remain on this list. And Adunze. Hollywood and Corley, we'll see. They're pretty decent. I would say this list I feel pretty good about, but I don't feel near as good as I do about this Marsman list, which McBride, by the way, is already almost climbed out of value.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars Man. Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
And yeah, the Ramondre, for those of you that were on my stream last night, I think it was, I said that, and I'll give you guys the same nugget, because I saw somebody asking why I haven't added him yet. Ramondre's probably going to be just giving you guys an early nugget, Ramondre's probably going to be a Moon Man. Ramondre Stevenson. I think he just fits the bill. Everything about Ramondre's situation screams Moon Man. He's got top 5 to 10 running back potential. He's proven that before. So, yeah. Penix might be a mid-decade monster, says Hoosiers. I don't know if you mean that in a good way or a bad way. Number 4 is Benson. Benson is my guy. Number 5 is JD5, Jaden Daniels. I like him better than any quarterback in this entire rookie draft class. I said that in January. I've never wavered. Penix Jr. is my number 2 quarterback. Not 3, my number 2 quarterback, but he's not here because it's hard for me in a 1 QB to even put a quarterback 5. I contemplated putting Bowers here at 5 and Daniels at 6, but because I think Daniels, JD5 is going to be the next Lamar Jackson, maybe better, I think this is pretty damn good. And the way I kind of went about this ranking in a 1 QB PPR dynasty, rookie-only setting, was I took out Jaden Daniels and I inserted AR5 because I think that's the kind of value this kid's going to have as his rookie in his rookie season. If we can, before AR5 got hurt, reflect back to how valuable he was, AR5 was a freaking top 5 quarterback in trade value. AR5 was a freaking top 5 quarterback in trade value. It was magnificent. You know, you could, if you had him, you had so much trade bait. It was unreal. You could send him, ship him off for a potential Puka Nacua. I remember trading, what was it, AR5 for, I want to say in the Marsman League, it was Puka Nacua. It was something. There was a trade that happened. I forget what it was. But you could absolutely get a guy that's borderline second round worthy for an AR5 with all the injuries that were going on mid-season. Because quarterbacks have so much value when the whistle blows and the year kicks off. It's so different. Like Mahomes is a 5th rounder, but as soon as week 1 starts, what's Mahomes' value? No one's trading him for anything. Dare I say, unless you had like an AR5 or somebody on your roster, you wouldn't trade Mahomes unless you're getting a top 12, top 13 overall pick. So what does that tell you? That quarterbacks are undervalued on draft day. So JD5 absolutely has number 5 overall value, and I'm damn excited to share that one with you. Who's my number 6 overall? Probably Brock Bowers. I would say Brock Bowers, and I don't. Let me see if I can put this in different color here. I don't say this with. It's hard for me. I don't say this lightly. Like going this direction instead of maybe putting a Brian Thomas Jr. or a Worthy. It becomes hard at this point to rank the remaining. I have 11 on the screen here. These are remaining 10, 12. I'm going to put 12. Maybe we'll go 12. We'll go like a mock draft, essentially. It gets really difficult, and it's kind of, preference at this point. And you can almost argue with somebody and convince somebody to change their ranking just with a simple argument. Bowers at 6, Bowers at 8. Bowers at 7, Bowers at 5. And a lot of people hate Bowers because he's in Las Vegas. They're mad at the Raiders for drafting him. They have Michael Mayer. It's a little bit of a crowded tight end room, but Bowers is so much more superior than Mayer, and I like Mayer a lot. And so I was a little disappointed for my Mayer shares in leagues, but I'm not worried about Bowers becoming what he's supposed to become in Las Vegas. And the fact remains, Minshew might be able to turn him into something special, and they don't even necessarily need to wait. We don't need to wait for a bigger name quarterback to land in Las Vegas for us to start respecting where Bowers could go as a rookie. So I really like Bowers at this territory. Guys can throw out who you think is next. Is it Worthy? Is it Brian Thomas Jr.? Is it another player? Is it Jonathan Brooks? Who is the next player you would slot right here? I'm going to probably say, as much as I'm almost tempted to put this guy ahead of Bowers. Neighbors at 6 for you, Matt. Oh, that's crazy. 6 for Neighbors? Why would you have Neighbors so low? I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks here. I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks here at this next spot. It's such a tough decision to tackle Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville, Worthy in KC, and then start looking at, Keon Coleman in Buffalo. Part of me wants to say the situation in Buffalo is so good. I'm gonna go Coleman right here. Let me make a placeholder here because I don't want anybody to think I'm moving these around. So player. All right, here we go. Franklin should make this list, John. He's borderline, bro. He's borderline. Definitely somebody that I could see. Lloyd's nice, Andrew, but not in the top 12. You can't. I mean, if you're doing an upside ranking only and you're saying I'm predicting this to happen, I mean, sure, you can do that. And for anybody that thinks that, I see Sick Nasty's, comment, and I don't think you're off base by thinking this. A lot of people think this, but I like Brooks, but Bowers would be 8 for you. His situation is mid. His situation's mid now, but these are dynasty rankings, my guy. And so I would just say be careful not to assume that Las Vegas doesn't have Shedeur Sanders next year. Things change so quickly. And they really are the only team right now, them and the Giants, that don't have really a quarterback, which is why I can't believe they didn't take Joe Milton. That would have been a perfect fit as just a project for them to try and figure something out, see if they've got anything in them. Rattler, they should have taken Rattler. Jordan Travis, why they didn't take him like the Jets did. All those quarterbacks in that territory, those three quarterbacks, Rattler, Travis, and Milton. Why didn't the Raiders even grab one of them? So this next spot for me is probably going to be, let me just put all these placeholders here so I don't mess this up and change the wrong one. Is it Worthy? Is it Ladd McConkey? Is it Brian Thomas Jr.? I mean, look, even Travis could make an argument for Polk here. There are several NFL scouts that had Polk as their wide receiver 4 or 5. Not a majority of them, but there were, I shouldn't say several, there were a couple that had Polk as their 4 or 5, 6-ish territory. So, Polk is somebody to consider 100%. Doesn't mean he's mine, but he's somebody that has the upside to get into this range. I don't think any of the other backup running backs, so Corum, Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright, none of those guys are going to crack the top 12. They're not going to be any of the next 4. Only Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson landed in ideal and magnificent spots. Corum's a backup. Kyron's a starter. He's a great handcuff. He's one of the better handcuffs in the National Football League, but Corum is not the starter. And I don't know what it is about people that think that that's happening. It's not. Yeah, and the Raiders, I mean, who the hell knows if Brady comes back? I think to rank Bowers low because of a situation could leave. He's gonna be a great value because so many people are talking about Bowers like that. I love that people are doubting Bowers. It makes me feel really, really confident that I'm going to get him after 7 overall on the average. Leggett's a great pick here. This is really tough. I'd probably say, man, I almost like McConkey. BT's hard to judge. It's a crowded room, but it's not a super ultra talented group of ones. But does that often spread the ball around too much to really even make it, I don't think I could put it's so tough. I don't think I could put BT right here. I want to. I think it's going to be Worthy. Ron with the $20 hauler. Well, we knew whoever the
alert. Super chat alert.
We knew whoever the Steelers drafted, Ron was going to love. Roman Wilson, the biggest underdog sleeper, top 5 rookie wide receiver. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. Not making my top 12, but I do think he's got sleeper value, sure. I'm going to go Worthy here. Situation is great. Speed is not everything, but he does have good film, and I think people didn't give this kid enough credit on film alone. And so he walked in needing to get on the map using his speed, and usually that does not work out well. But usually the speed is the only thing the person has to show for. So I kind of like Worthy a lot more than the average, speedy, record-breaking receiver that comes in to disappoint. I'm going to say Worthy here. I agree, Alan. Bowers is going to be phenomenal. I think people are judging the Raiders' landing spot in Dynasty way too quickly. If we're not going to judge Neighbors' Dynasty landing spot, then we're going to give Adunze a pass as well. And we're going to say these are going to both change, especially Neighbors. He has no quarterback right now. If we're going to assume they get Shedeur Sanders or somebody, we've got to assume the same thing for LV. LV, Las Vegas, is not going to sit on their hands. They're going to bring someone in, and Bowers is crafty. And I pretty much guarantee that I'm too high on him according to most people. And even if I put him 7, I think that's too high for most people. So I have a feeling that if you have pick 8 or 9, you've got a great chance of getting Brock Bowers, which is great if you need a tight end. If it's tight end premium, that won't fly. No quarterbacks are going to crack this. Even Penix Jr., no quarterbacks are going to crack this top 12 for me in a 1 QB. I see too much value in all these other players than go quarterback shopping. I love Penix Jr. I definitely would take him in round 2. I like Drake May. I'd take him in round 2. If you needed a quarterback really badly, there's no harm in taking in a 1 QB a quarterback at 10, 11, 12. If you like Caleb, you could take Caleb at 9, 10, 11, 12. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I won't do it, but I wouldn't have a problem with it. But personally, when I'm in draft mode, I'm not even considering these other quarterbacks. JD5 is special. Chris from Vegas wants to know Brady to Bowers. It's certainly going to be more of a possibility than people, I think, are going to suggest. WCOE 33, $10 hauler gets a moonshot. You still here, pal?
To the moon.
Appreciate you. I saw this one came in and I just got to it here. I'm sorry. 12-team PPR, 1 QB, Mahomes, Bijan, Mostert, JJ, Olave, London, Waddle, Pitts, bench, O'Connell, Sharps, rookie draft Saturday. Targets are 2.6, 3.6, and 4.6. I mean, so tough, bro. If Brooks and Benson are both gone, then, you could look to like Corum, one of those guys, just in hopes that they get into the lineup. I think one of my favorite receivers in that range would probably be, my favorite quarterback would be Penix Jr. in that territory. If Bowers is gone, you could go with Sinnott, the tight end for Washington. Some scouts have him as the number 1 tight end over Bowers. Sinnott's a good freaking pick, man. That's a great 2.6 pick, but he might not even last that long. What other wide receivers? Let me take a look at my thefantasyfootballshow.com rankings. I think Malachi Corley, Ricky Parasol, Leggett will probably be gone. I bet you A.D. Mitchell, Polk will be there. I bet you Will Shipley could be there for sure, and I think Sinnott's a guy you want to potentially target. So I'd say if Ladd McConkey's gone, in order, I'd say Worthy, Ladd McConkey, or obviously Keon Coleman's going to be gone. So Worthy, Keon Coleman and Worthy will both be gone. Ladd McConkey probably gone. So all those guys are gone. Malachi Corley could be there. Ricky Parasol, like both of those guys. Leggett will be gone. A.D. Mitchell could be there. Polk could be there. Franklin could be there. Kind of in that order. And Sinnott, I like Sinnott a lot. Blake Corum, Penix Jr. Those are. It's a tough question. It's kind of a loaded question because that's so late, bro. I kind of need to know the flow of draft. But I appreciate you dropping your super chat. And if you want to call in on it for a little further detail, let me know. Alan with the $20 hauler says Smitty rocks. Alan to the moon.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Alan, appreciate you dropping that 20 wad, my guy. You're the man, the myth, the legend. And was that other guy here, the 33? COE? I hope he's still here. Okay. Chris, appreciate you. Brady maybe comes back, bro. He might come back. Okay. So here's we got Coleman. I haven't listed BT yet. I haven't listed McConkey yet. haven't listed Leggett yet. Let's go McConkey. Thomas Jr. And then Leggett. I'm spitballing this, so did I miss anything? I don't think so. Leggett, wide receiver, Carolina. That's spitballing my top 12 rookie 1 QB PPR dynasty. Harrison Jr., Neighbors, Adunze, Trey Benson, my favorite after Harrison Jr., by the way. Trey Benson. Daniels, Bowers, Jonathan Brooks, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Leggett. A.D. Mitchell barely missed the cut. I like A.D. Mitchell a lot. I do. I think A.D. Mitchell, Penix Jr., those guys would all be kind of really close to being next. A.D. Mitchell, Polk would be right there. And then we start looking at some of those RBs. So this will give, what's his face that dropped that super chat asking about the 2.06, the COE guy, 33. Appreciate you, by the way, if you're still here. Then you're looking at like your 2.6. I mean, you're pretty close to A.D. Mitchell. You're pretty close to Polk. I think those are guys you could get, but I don't even know if all these guys will be gone. Sinnott is probably maybe next up. Sinnott would be 2.1 potentially, or Polk would be 2.1, or A.D. Mitchell would be 2.1. Blake Corum's not bad there. Penix Jr. not bad. Dare we say Jahan Dotson is a Moon Man? He's damn close, Tony. He might be a returning Moon Man. I know that's risky as hell, but his metrics were really good. It was all about Sam Howell. That last year was not Dotson's fault. I'm very tempted to say what happened to me and Kyron, predicting Kyron to break out his rookie year and it not working out and then just not doubling down, which you should never just double down. But like when you believe in the player, dare I say that not doubling down on Dotson might be a repeat of not doubling down on Kyron walking into last year. So I'm very tempted to double down on Dotson. And we got a lot of Moon Man spots. I got him right here.
The Moon Man.
I mean, we got so many Moon Man spots.
Outer space.
Stevenson will probably be the next one.
Space Monsters.
Yeah, and people will be so, because of like what you said, Birds. I mean, you're not alone. Even I feel this way. We're all human. John Dotson burned me last season. I don't know if I can do it again. Well, you can at the price he's going at, though. You know what I mean? He's free. You're not spending any sort of high draft capital on him. He's practically free. Zero trust in Washington's wide receivers outside of Terry, says John. I disagree. I think Dotson's very, very easy to trust when he's practically free. Malachi Corley, Elgin. I mean, his spot kind of limits his ability to be a top 12 rookie. I don't think he can be a top 12 rookie. I think all these guys, Thomas Jr., Leggett, McConkey, Worthy, Coleman, these all could be number ones for their team. Malachi Corley can never be the number one for his team. Therefore, he's not likely to climb into my top 10, let alone my top 12. You know what I'm saying? So Malachi Corley is going to be in that second round territory. Superflex start 11 PPR rookie draft 1.4 go May or Neighbors. I'm really when you say JJ, you mean JJM. You can't say JJ. JJ is Justin Jefferson. I would probably say Neighbors, Zach. I'd probably say Neighbors. I don't know your entire QB situation, obviously, but I'd almost say I'm not forcing it. If JD5 was there, I'd take JD5 at 1.4. But if he's gone, I assume he will be. Marvin Harrison in Superflex is my 1.1 no matter what. And Neighbors is borderline my 1.2. I would put JD5 ahead of him. I would contemplate May if you're in dire straits at 1.4 over Neighbors, but probably would take Neighbors personally. And I'm crazy, bro. I love Trey Benson so much. I'm not guaranteeing that I'm taking a quarterback over Trey Benson. That really does depend on your team need at that point, because you're going early on Trey Benson. But I don't care. I'd trade down is what I'm really trying to tell you. You don't need to take Trey Benson at 1.4, but you also, if you're drafting, let's say, a month from now, you don't really know what you're going to be needing to get Trey Benson. He could get the coach come out and say this guy's going to lead the league in rushing, and boom, he's gone. He's done. He's a third rounder. Like, you like that kind of stuff happens all the time. Chris Godwin was a 6th, 7th round pick, and his offensive coordinator said he's going to catch 100 passes, and he went from 6th to 7th round to 3rd round, and he played like a top 2 round guy. Chris Godwin that year, he absolutely crushed it. So we could assume that you don't need a 1.4 to land Benson, but we'll just have to see what happens. What if Connor went down? Then Benson's all of a sudden like a top 5 to 10 running back. And yes, damn straight in the Superflex, you're considering him at 1.4. Right now, you wouldn't be. So if you're drafting in the next week, then and you wanted Benson, let's say, you would trade down to 1.6, and you'd still be reaching for Benson at 1.6, no doubt about it. So, but this is my rookie ranking, and Superflex, if we're just spitball Superflex real quick, I'd say JD5 moves from 5 to about 2-3. If you need a quarterback, all things are pretty equal. That's when I can lean position. I don't draft a position, I draft a player. I always go best player available, but JD5, Neighbors, and Adunze are all on the same playing field, and then your position of need kind of pushes you in the direction you need, right? So JD5 could be number 2 overall behind Marvin Harrison Jr. in a Superflex. Then it goes, for me, Neighbors, Adunze, and honestly, Benson. That's my ranking, and if I can get away with a different situation, I will. But JD5 goes to 2, and then in the 5 spots where these quarterbacks insert back for me, you're not going to find most people have rankings like that. Most content creators will 100% be heavy quarterback in a Superflex because that's what everybody else does. I don't roll that way. I don't draft that way. I don't build that way. And I'm not shoving quarterbacks ahead of Neighbors, Adunze, and Benson. And if you're in dire straits at QB, we can talk and try and figure out a way to get out of that. You can call on the phone line. But my rankings aren't going to suggest that people take quarterbacks just because we don't know which quarterbacks are going to land. I mean, look back at the Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Zach Wilson draft. People that just force quarterback because their quarterback absolutely sharded the bed. So I'm not going to force quarterback. I'm not forcing JJM above Benson, Adunze, and Neighbors in a Superflex. I'm just not. And never will. That's the way I do it. That's the way Dad did it. That's the way America does it. It's worked out pretty well so far. Call into the phone line, presented to you by The Attic, formerly known as Grindhouse.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
These rankings are whack. Why are they whack, Theo? Do call in and share. These rankings are whack, in my opinion, but I guess they aren't that bad. Do call in and share, Theo. Tell me where I'm wrong on these rankings. Where in the hell am I off base, Theo? Do share. Do share, pal. Rankings are always going to ruffle people's feathers, because once you get into rankings, you're getting into defined preference. It's not like a general, oh yeah, he's a top 10 running back, or oh, we all like him. You start getting into rankings, especially on social media. You post a ranking on Twitter or on Instagram, you'll find, even if the 10, 15 people that gripe and complain and cry about how you don't have their player high enough, if you were to switch it to appease, let's just say you were a crumbling Caleb, and you crumbled to the masses, and you switched your rankings up to the 10 people that are crying and complaining, guess what happens? The next minute, 10 more people come in and start crying about what they want it the way you had it. They're like, why don't you have this guy here? You'll never find people that have the same rankings. But to say they're whack, Theo, to say they're whack, these are rankings, bro. Like, your rankings are going to be different than mine. That doesn't mean they're whack. What in the hell are you talking about? Theo, what in the hell are you saying, bro? What's whacked about these rankings? Do tell. Do tell. You're live, Theo.
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. Yeah, I just don't understand how Brian Thomas can go from your 4th wide receiver to your, 7th or 8th? I don't know. Do you think the Jacksonville landing spot is actually that bad that you drop him down?
But that's what's whack. The differing opinion of Coleman, Worthy, McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. is whack.
And also,
how is that whack?
High on,
how is that whack? Oh, hold on. Let's take. Mute yourself if you could, Josh. Let's take these one at a time. How is it whack to have? And I don't think you're whack to have Brian Thomas Jr. at 8 and Coleman at 11. But how is it whack to even be wavering on Coleman, Worthy, McConkey, Thomas Jr., and Leggett? That's like, you could throw those guys in a blender, turn it on, and put them in the order that the blender spits them out at. Like, I don't understand how that's your gripe. Like, that's the problem?
No, I think it's just like you value the landing spot more than you value the talent of the actual player.
It's a combination, though. There's never. It's like I talked about the nature versus nurture. Like a serial killer, how much of the serial killer is their upbringing, their parents, their environment, what they did as a kid, who their older brother was, what they were taught in 4th grade, having bad friends. Is that the nurture that caused the serial killer, or is it the nature? Did the kid grow up in an amazing household with amazing parents, every advantage in the world, but his nature was bad and he became a serial killer? It's the same concept with anything in life when you've got multiple variables at play. And so is talent better than situation? You can't answer that with a blanket statement. Because you could stick Marvin Harrison Jr. in a very bad spot, or Neighbors in the New York Giants landing spot, and you're going to get a special player no matter what. You stick BT in New York, he could vanish from the earth. They're just different monsters. And you can't answer that question. So every situation's 100% situation based. And so you give me BT in a crowded environment, which I kind of like him. I mean, we weighed him. I mean, I don't know if you watched me do these rankings. I sat here for like 10 minutes to go through 8 through 12. Like, BT came up at 8. I was spitballing this too. This is not. I got to change my website.
No, I wasn't watching. I was eating dinner.
Okay, so I got to change even my website rankings because I need to go through and comb through them all. But 8 overall versus 12 is a struggle. Like McConkey, tomorrow morning I could have McConkey 8 and BT 12. Tomorrow morning I could have BT 9 or 8 and McConkey 12. Like, I'm not set on this. Even when the wind picks up and starts blowing a little harder this evening, they could all blow around, because this is a really, really, really close group, and situation is 100% weighing on this right now. Leggett's got a pretty damn good situation, but is Bryce Young good enough? Will he progress and get him the football? I like where he's at. It's actually a pretty decent landing spot. Brian Thomas Jr., will they pull a Calvin Ridley and just send him downfield on streaks and give him 3 or 4 throws a game, and they're going to be low conversion passes? Or will they put Gabe Davis in that role, and now we're going to have 2 kind of Christian Kirks cutting across the middle and getting all the gravy work? Then all of a sudden Brian Thomas Jr. has value. But then you look at Brian Thomas Jr. and you say, Ingram caught 8,000 passes last year. Gabe Davis is going to eat. Christian Kirk's going to eat. We need, for all these guys to eat, on top of ETN, we need Law Dog to be what we thought Law Dog could be, and he hasn't been that yet. So, I mean, I don't understand how that's the sticking point here. But I'm okay with your ranking. If you have BT number 5 overall, I don't think that's whack at all. I'm merely saying you saying these rankings are whack is whack to me, because these are we're not going to agree on these. The deeper we go into a ranking, the more off we are. It's like vision impairment. If you've got astigmatism and your two eyes,
It's not hate.
I'm not saying it's hate. I'm not saying it's hate, but how are they whack? You say something's whack, someone's going to react to it. When you have astigmatism and your eyes looking at a dot that's 20 yards away, if you keep backing up and your eyes are seeing it differently, it's going to get further and further and further apart. That's the way rankings are. The further you go down, we probably don't have a big discrepancy in our top 3, right, Theo? We probably don't.
I mean, I have Benson a lot lower, but that's just because
Well, he's 4.
I mean, he's a backup running back.
But I said my top 3. Okay, never mind. Okay, Theo, I'm not mad at you. I'm merely
Okay, yeah.
I'm merely defending the comment that these, in my chat, someone writes these rankings are whack, and I see it. I'll probably call it out. That's all I'm saying.
I said they aren't that bad, though.
You said these rankings, I got it on the screen. These rankings are whack, in my opinion, but I guess they aren't that bad. Basically, they're whack. Okay, they're not that shitty. That's just how I read it. So I was just here. It doesn't really. It may seem like I don't have thick skin here. I'm just merely having a conversation, because when someone says, "Hey, Kyron Williams is a backup running back, Blake Corum's going to take over," it doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me. But I'm going to go. I'm going to go at. I'm going to go at that because this is the show. This is good content.
I have the same top 12 as you, but it's just in different orders. So it's like it's not that much different from my rankings there.
Okay.
I guess
all right. Hang tight. Mute real quick. Let me go over to Ron Navy. All right. Mute real quick. Let me go over to Ron Navy. I'll come back to you, Theo. You don't need to hang up or anything. I'm not mad at you. I'm not even mad at your take. It's just this is content. Somebody says something, and they say something that these are not. It's almost like someone reading that for the first time. Like, let's say somebody came into the chat. This is their first day here, and they read Theo Darling saying these rankings are whack. I'm here to defend that person that doesn't know what's going on, or that may come in for their first time. I want them to know my stance. I want them to know that I don't think they're whack. They're my rankings. Of course I don't. But I think it's crazy to suggest that anything in this 8 to 12 being reordered is whack. I just think that's wild. Okay, hold on, Theo. Let me go over to Ron Navy. Ron Navy, you're live.
Yeah, put it on the board, Smitty.
Oh, Roman?
Yep.
What did you say? Top 5 rookie wide receiver? Ron has a credit, by the way, for $50 haulers for quite some time. So Ron wants a $50 hauler. We'll put it up. So Roman Wilson,
yep.
Steeler wide receiver, top 5 rookie. Okay.
Yep.
All right, on it. Ron Navy, what's today's date?
You got to open up the briefcase, too.
4/29. The briefcase for the earlier super chat?
No.
Did you drop one right
for
now?
For the 20 gifted members.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Okay, yeah, let me get that 1 second. Briefcase. So what is today? The 29th? Ron,
yep.
Roman, Wilson, top 5 rookie wide receiver.
Yep.
And Ron Navy dropping 20 gifted memberships.
$50. Give me $50 holler. Let that bottle brother Smitty. Give me $50.
Where's my briefcase?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Denny, does Denny even know that he's the $50 hauler mascot? I don't even know if he does.
Probably not.
Denny, $50 hauler. Dropping a Denny. Dropping a deuce. Dropping a Denny. Okay, Hoosier says not big on Caleb in the top 12. Question mark. What do you think, Hoosiers? Do I really need to answer that? Not a big fan of Caleb in your top 12, huh? I picture my mom's voice when I'm reading that. Not a big fan of Caleb in the 12, are you? He's not one of your 12? No, he's not. I think he could definitely score. Like, let me preface and say this: the Adunze edition 1,000% upped the likelihood that Caleb is going to produce some fantasy numbers, from time to time. There's no doubt about it. Like, Caleb's got talent. Caleb's got a big arm. We're going to see probably what Fields did if they develop Caleb the same way they develop Fields, and if Caleb doesn't overcome all the other red flags and mental hurdles I think he's going to encounter. So if Caleb overcomes all those hurdles, and let's say the Bears kind of develop him properly, he'll be like Fields. He'll have big games. I'm not going to feel wrong until the season's over. So if Caleb has 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1, it's not, they have to win. Like, a lot of this has to do with, is it the right pick at 1.1? Are the Bears going to be disappointed? Are the Bears going to be moving on 3 or 4 years from now from Caleb Williams? Or is he the long-term answer in Chicago? That's more of what it's about. Caleb's certainly in the category of like JJM for me. If I was drafting a fantasy football quarterback, there's consideration there of Caleb, JJM, and Drake May. Like, you really would have to weigh all those guys out from a fantasy football perspective. And I don't think it's whack if someone's got Caleb QB1. That's a total preference thing. And I don't think it's crazy for even a Caleb doubter to have him as the 3rd or 4th ranked quarterback in this draft class on pure ability to just score fantasy points alone. Because scoring fantasy points, was Sam Howell an amazing quarterback? No. Is Sam Howell a disappointment if, let's say, he was draft number 1 overall by a team? Yeah. And did Sam Howell hang inside the top 5 quarterbacks for wasn't it half the season last year? Sam Howell was in and out of the top 5. He started off on fire. And so, anyway, good topic though. I mean, for sure. All right, let me head over to Josh from Cali real quick. Ron, I'll be right back to you.
Smitty. Can you clear the whiteboard? I got a question for you, brother.
Malachi
Corley.
Hit me with it.
What's up? All right. Malachi Corley, Roman Wilson, Xavier Legette, and Xavier Worthy. I'm sorry, not Xavier Worthy. I like Xavier Worthy. Pearsall. Which receiver has the better season of those 4?
So this is a good question. I'm gonna cross out Corley for now, just because I think it's gonna be tougher for him to get into a significant role. Well, actually, I won't cross him out, because let's say Mike Williams gets injured right away or something like that. Let me just give you my probabilities, I guess.
Right.
I like Corley a lot. Pearsall and Corley are the most risky, and then I would say Roman Wilson. I think Worthy by far. I think all these guys are going to struggle to walk into instant amazing playing time, and they're all lumped together for a reason, because you're trying to debate guys that are. But Worthy, number one, Worthy's got so much more trade value. Even if you disagree with it, the ability to trade him to somebody that thinks he's going to be better than he is out of the gate, or in general, even if you don't like him, his trade value is so much higher than these other 3 guys. But really, this is an argument that you could make on any side of this. Like, Ron would probably tell you he thinks Roman Wilson is going to get right in there. Someone that's a Jets fan is going to tell you Corley's going to be used right away because he's so dynamic. And neither Ron or that other person would be wrong. Like, these are amazing players. And Ricky Pearsall, they're all really, really good players. Pre-draft, my ranking was tied kind of between Corley and Pearsall. I kind of like Corley a little bit more. But neither of these guys are going to be, especially Pearsall. He's further away from playing time than probably Corley. I'd say Roman Wilson has the best shot maybe to get early playing time. But I think by the end of the year, one of, if not both of Pearsall and Corley will be right there with him. And they're kind of all just like almost a crapshoot in terms of who's going to get the most work mixed with You know, their ability to translate their college
I
game.
think-
The best player is
Well,
probably Corley.
historically- Sorry. Historically, the Pittsburgh just produces receivers. You know, they're just
Yeah.
year
it's-
after year after year. You know?
Late
mean-
round receiver. Not just receiver, but round receiver.
You what, Ron?
Crazy.
Not just receiver, not early, but late round receivers.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, they do it.
Roman's got the best likelihood of the three. Worthy's like in a tier by himself, and especially just for trade value alone. He's just in another tier, whether we want him to be or not. He just is. But
Would you take Coleman or him?
I'd take. Well, I mean, here are my rankings. I have Coleman and Worthy 8 and 9. I have Coleman 8 and Worthy 9.
Oh.
But I struggled on that. Like I said, I even had to hit the button and look. Right now, I had to hit the button and look. I didn't remember. That's why I went so hard on the comment by Theo. Is like, I don't even know if I closed the live stream down right now, left for an hour and came back. I don't even think I could repeat these 6 through 12 off memory. I would probably go, who did I have? I wouldn't be able to just say, who's making all that noise in the background? Is that Josh? What are you doing, Josh?
That might be me. Let me mute it.
Okay. It's kind of like 781 caller. Who's this? You got some background noise and stuff too, I think. What's your name, bro? Where are you calling from?
Smitty, my bad. I got the speaker on as a 2.
If you could mute real quick. What's your name and where are you calling from? 781.
Brian, Massachusetts.
Okay, Brian. Yeah, mute real quick. I'll come to you in a second.
I got you, bro.
All right, appreciate you. I honestly, even if I'm not looking right now, I can't even. If I tried to re-rank them, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be like that's real. I don't think a lot of people would admit that. I think you go on a show, someone's gonna grab you go on another show, someone's gonna grab their paper and read their paper. I don't even like to do that. I'm doing this. I'm spitballing this because this is how I feel in the moment. And I'm telling you, Worthy might be 8, Coleman might be 9, BTR might be 9 or 10. Ron Navy might come in and just drop 8 super chats in a row about Roman Wilson and provide some sort of numbers that excite me, and he might slip into the 12. You never know. You never know. All I know is that when you get higher in the draft, very, very cemented in. You start getting into this 8 to 20 territory. It's a blender. It's a blender. And it comes down to team need. It comes down to a lot of different things. It's just there's no Coleman, Worthy, and McConkey and Thomas Jr., Leggett, and even Brooks. I could, if I was in need of wide receivers, best player available, I might need a wide receiver, and that becomes best player available to me because all things are really close. Brooks could slip 3 or 4 spots. You know, especially if I'm like, I can't wait on RB that's recovering from an ACL tear. And, you know, I don't need RBs. There's a lot of factors. You know, and Bowers at 6, if you can't afford to wait on him getting a quarterback and you don't trust Minshew, you could have him 8. I think Travis said he had him at 8 or 9. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with different rankings. The reason I also went hard on Theo is I don't want anybody to feel scared to drop their ranking. If your ranking's different than someone else, you're talking about rankings. You're not talking about hate. And I'm not saying Theo was hating. I'm just saying if someone comes in and they're hating on the chat because they have a different ranking, that's different. If we're like, you know, they're like, I like Blake Corum over Kyron. You guys are all wrong. And they're hating on a Kyron video we're doing. That's different than just saying, hey, yeah, these guys are both talented. I personally have Corum ranked higher than, and I'm not saying I wouldn't drag your comment on screen and say something, you know, I'm capable of it, I guess. But my whole point is that when Theo said that, I felt a need to defend everybody having different rankings. And maybe it comes out of me a little quicker when somebody assumes something is so off base when I feel like they're talking about a very arguable piece of that too. That's when I come in and I just want to defend, I guess, differing opinions in that space, in that realm. I don't know. So Theo, I wasn't mad at you. I still am not mad at you. I'm just merely saying there's nothing wrong with someone having a different ranking. There's nothing whack about it. You don't know anything more than I, and I know nothing more than you at this point in terms of this bunch of guys. because we need to wait for team information. We need to wait for how they progress. We need to wait for, can they even stay healthy? We need to wait for a whole bunch of different things. So like, I don't think anybody's rankings are whack. I think it's preference. I think approach is whack. I think the way people might come in and hate on something's whack, but there's nothing wrong with walking. That's why we got a bold prediction board. There's nothing wrong with, when Superfish said Jonnu Smith's going to be a top 5 tight end, did we sit there and go, that's whack? Oh my God. No, it's wild. And we loved it because it's bold, and that's Superfish's take. And man, if someone came in and said Puka Nacua was number 1 overall in the rookie pool, and you called that whack, I mean, whack is good then. Whack is the new hell yeah. Who am I talking to?
I'm on the line. Hey, Smitty, I got one more for you, brother.
All right, Josh, hurry up. Yeah, go.
A-Chan like me. Yeah. Smitty, A-Chan the Saturn. Is there a world where Jalen Wright replaces Raheem Mostert, and they just have this dynamic, fucking awesome, two-headed monster?
Yeah, I mean, Ziggy, how old is Raheem Mostert? I think he's 31, turning 32. Ziggy, how old is Raheem Mostert? I think he's 31, turning 32.
Raheem Mostert is 32 years old.
Oh, he's 32.
He
just turned 30. So I was right. He just turned 32. So he just had his birthday this month. So he's 32 years old. Is there a chance that he just completely falls off the face of the earth by week 3 or 4 and they have to put Wright in? Absolutely. And that's why, that's maybe why this draft selection was made. And you don't want A-Chan. Like, I don't know how many times I got to say it to people. A-Chan is like Deebo Samuel. Miami Mike McDaniel made Deebo Samuel. Him and Shanahan together, I'm not saying it was all Miami Mike, but Miami Mike was thought to be a bigger architect of the Deebo Samuel wide back role than even Shanahan to a degree. And this guy took A-Chan, who's almost the inverse version of him. He's the running back playing both versus the wide receiver playing both, running back and wide receiver. And I don't think we want to take him out of that. Think of Tony Pollard in an example of that. Like, I'm not saying Tony Pollard would have succeeded if they kept him in the role he was in the year prior, but what happened when they put him between the tackles and just said, "Run, boy, run"? He didn't thrive. That wasn't his wheelhouse. And you could say maybe we're wrong on this one too. But when you think about Jahmyr Gibbs, like, do we want Jahmyr Gibbs to also go into that behind center or behind quarterback, lining up in I formation all the time, being a between the tackle running back? Because it is safe to say Jahmyr Gibbs and A-Chan are probably equally capable of being not only the league's yards per carry leader for any given season, but all time. A-Chan's already in that conversation. If you filter the carries down to the number of carries A-Chan has had, he's the highest yards per carry player in the history of the NFL. And then when you open up that sample of carries to like 500, then he disappears because he hasn't got the carries for it yet. But the thing about Gibbs is his yards per carry are much lower because he was getting a lot of between the tackle work. So A-Chan, dare I say that we never want Gibbs to be the full-time guy. And dare I say we never want A-Chan to be the full-time between the tackles guy. So Wright is a beautiful addition to this team. Doesn't scare me a single bit. And I want A-Chan getting 12 to 15 carries a game, not 18. I don't want him getting 18 carries a game. And how is he going to have time for 4, 5, 6 receptions? You want him to have 20 total receptions and or maybe 18 to 20 total receptions and carries. And if he's ripping off 6, 7 yards a pop, you're getting so much yardage. You're getting a 100 total yard guy and a strong shot at a touchdown every single game. I just don't want what happened to Pollard, or what can happen to Gibbs sometimes when Gibbs is popped off before, and then he's gone under, he's gone full running back between the tackle, mode, and he still breaks him off. And I'm not saying I don't want that, but I don't want Gibbs to break. I don't want A-Chan to break, and I don't necessarily feel like that's a bad thing. I don't think we could ever. This is a different league now. There's 80-20 shares. There's 60-40 shares. There's 50-50 shares. There's really no more 100% workload, environments. And Kyron kind of had that, and I think Kyron might get an 80-20 look this year at worst case. I mean, there's no way, in my opinion, McVay's saying, hey, rookie, take over for the guy that absolutely exploded on the league and scored 15 touchdowns for us in 12 games. 12 rush. You hand the ball to Kyron, he's scoring. Like, but do we want him getting 100% of the backfield workload? No, I do. So 80-20 is fine by me. That's what Corm's going to get. But McVay's very, very much not a 50-50 guy. That's why everyone says he breaks his running backs. But it's going to take him a while to break a running back. I'm not worried right now. You know, is he going to maybe wear Kyron down a little bit? More so than the average running back? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Kyron is built a certain way, and I know he's gotten hurt a couple times, but I don't. I mean, he injured his hand, and he still was, you know, out there. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. All right, Joe, I got to move on to the next caller. Or Josh, I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Let me go over to Brian from Mass, then Scuba. I'm sorry, Marsman Rockout's on the line. He's got a Marsman card. That Marsman card jumps him to the front of the line. There was only 11 of them.
I get that.
Yeah, sorry. Marsman Rockout, what's up?
Yeah, I sent you a DM.
I think Rockout is trying to debut a new track. Here we go. Rockout original.
Get your Harrison Jr. He be going crazy. He straight Timothy. Oh, damn Timothy Harrison. Get your Harrison. Get your Harrison. All right. Oh, Harrison.
Thank you, Rockout. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I want that played on my birthday.
It's your birthday.
Yeah. What can I do for you, Rockout?
I could argue Benson over Dunze.
I could too. Who laughed?
I might have. I don't know.
I think
I think when Keenan goes, Dunze is going to be the guy. Him and Moore.
Let me guess who laughed on that. Who laughed on that? Is that Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, look. I mean,
it's tough. This running back class is good, but
no, Brian, make your case. Make your case.
Crazy this year.
Make your case. Benson
the wide
versus.
receiver class is just crazy this year.
I know, but the landing spot was not good for a Dunze in year one.
Crowded.
I know that. Well, yeah, Keenan's probably going to be gone after next year.
Yeah, I know, but give us the argument. Go ahead. I'm fine with the argument. I want it.
Well, Connor's definitely injury prone, so Benson could definitely break out. You know, he's got the offense now. They can't deny that. But I can just see Odunze he's a reception monster.
He is.
He's
a first down machine.
He's going to be touchdown deep.
Yeah, I do love him. I'm not saying I'm not saying you're wrong.
Odunze has a chance to be better than Neighbors and Harrison for all we know, but probably not. But you never know.
I like him. I just think okay. So what don't you think Benson? What do you think holds Benson back from maybe being able to beat out Odunze, or is it just merely all Odunze? It's not a tear down of Benson at all. You like Benson, think he'll do well. You just think that this is.
I like them both.
Okay.
Can't.
Well, you laughed. So you laughed. So I was trying to see if there was something else there.
I couldn't draft Benson over him.
Okay.
I couldn't draft Benson over McConkey.
Okay. You couldn't draft Benson over McConkey? Really?
I don't know. It depends on what running back needy you were, I guess.
I don't know. I would definitely draft Benson over McConkey. Clearly, because I have that on my rankings here. But McConkey is McConkey is special.
I was point out earlier too is that's why we all chime in is because
we
all have different rankings, but we all want to try and evaluate our rankings.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people are worried about and I think Matt O made this point right here, or no, was it Matt O? Was it Mark? This is what I think everyone should be worried about. Now, maybe Odunze is just that much better than JSN. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I mean, it's tough to know. I think he kind of is, but I don't know that the situation is different. It seems the same. So I kind of understand what Mark's saying. But you know, is he going to get the JSN treatment? Is it just going to be really hard for him? Like, he's not taking the place of Keenan. He's not taking the place of DJ Moore. So he needs an injury, and maybe he gets that injury. But
That's the thing.
How many do you know? Does anybody even know what the Bears' offense is truly going to look like? How many 3 wide receiver sets are they running constantly? I don't really know. I imagine they will, but we don't fully 100% know or have any guarantees as to
their
what.
offense is tricky because they got Swift, they got Roshan, they got they got Kmet.
So
you know,
I don't think it's crazy either way. I just think that, like, you know, I first of all, I just think if Benson is the closest thing in this draft class to an elite running back, given he's the healthy.
Yeah, Brooks are in their league of their own.
Given that Benson's the healthy one, he's really the top dog. Like, you could say Brooks eventually could get there, but he's not going to be 100% out of the gate. He'll be slowly eased into it. Now, maybe that's great because, like, look at Breece Hall. He was still running back too, and he didn't really do much the first month. So, like, you could still catch up in fantasy football at the running back position. So I'm not too concerned, but his offense is also nowhere near as good as the Arizona Cardinal offense. However, they had a great draft, and they're definitely going to be much improved. But I don't think the injury mixed with the offense being a little bit lesser than that Cardinal potent offense, where really James Conner had some huge games, and there's a lot of workload going to the RB. I think Benson could have a sneaky Marshawn Lynch type career. And that's top 8 to 15 overall for me. So McConkey doesn't come close to Benson for me. Benson all day long. Brian Thomas Jr., not even considering him over Benson. Coleman, love him. It seems a little Jameis Winston to me. It worries me a little bit, also entertains me a lot, and I love him. I love Coleman. I love him, but I'm wondering a little bit about, you know, is this just an awesome personality type guy that focuses and, you know, or like, what are we looking at? Because Winston could, you know, it's like it went together. Like, Winston was wild off the field, and then, you know, he'd get on the field and he'd get in the huddle and he'd be like, he'd carry it onto the field. He'd be in the huddle going, take the W and eat it, stick it in your mouth. And he'd start eating his hand in front of everybody. And they're like, what is it? Just ruined the vibe. He tried to give pep talks. You know, so if, like, he's out there in the huddle going, you guys see that bird up there? That bird's flying really low. You know, like, if he could keep it
focus on the game.
Yeah. So I don't think it's being. I'm not judging him really as a person. I'm merely just saying we rarely see this, so we don't know what we're looking at yet. Like, does it stop and he gets focused? I don't know, but he's hilarious. Yeah. But there's Benson to me. I'm with Rock Out. I think you could make the argument. I have Odunze third. I think Odunze, I agree with you. Odunze is a first down machine. But I am a little worried. Like, this is dynasty. If it was redraft, Benson over Odunze and Neighbors. If it's redraft, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm not saying I drafted in this order because I take advantage of all the people that don't see what I believe that I'm seeing. And maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm not saying that. But in redraft, my redraft rankings are reordered drastically. And it goes Marvin Harrison Jr., and then it goes Benson, and it goes Jonathan Brooks in that order. All the other wide receivers, because they're bad spots.
And Benson both profile as perfect running backs in the NFL. They're both over 210, both over 6 feet, you know?
Yeah. All right, hang tight real quickly. Brian, unless you got something really quick, I'm going to jump over to 49er Media, then Scuba Steve.
I got a second. I got a draft, early rookie draft. So.
All right, hang tight. Mute if you could. Let me go to 49er Media, then Scuba Steve, and then back to Ron Navy. 49er Media, you are live, young man.
How's it going? Vinny, how you been?
Have you learned to drive a car yet?
Hummer.
A Hummer?
I'm getting my license.
Oh,
I'm getting my license.
I'm like, you went from not having a license to now driving a Hummer. Okay, this summer. Okay. 49er Media, what can I do for you?
So I wanted to ask you, because I know you kind of were talking about Pearson a little bit ago. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, Jacob Cowan, because to me, I feel like he right now might fit the team better coming from Arizona because, like, very similar kind of things, knows how to block well. The only thing is, he's really undersized.
Ricky, you talking about Parasol? What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying, what are your thoughts on Jacob Cowing?
Oh.
Because I know you were talking about Pearsall, like, earlier.
Yeah. I don't know, bro. I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'm not like super. What's the right word? Intrigued.
Super psyched.
Yeah, I think he's got some upside, but I think he's kind of. And if anybody doesn't know, he's talking about Jacob Cowing is the receiver out of Arizona. And it's not just because he's an Arizona wide receiver. I don't hate Arizona. Because I'm ASU guy like everybody else. Like I don't let it influence anything. So here's he was drafted in the 4th round at pick 35, so 135 overall. I think he's okay, but like the thing I would say is like he has very little shot at all. Parasol is going to struggle to get into your wide receiver rotation. You got Ronnie Bell and Jennings and Parasol all trying to fight for the 3rd wide receiver spot. Like this guy, and you still got Danny Gray, who is a much better.
I think Danny Gray's getting cut, man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he was a much better prospect and a higher draft capital. I think 3rd round. Like, what makes you think Jacob Cowing's even going to even be on the team? He'll be a practice squad guy or something.
I just don't. I mean, he's not going to make it over Danny Gray because the thing is, the issue is Danny Gray doesn't know how to block, doesn't know how to run routes, and Cowing does know how to do that. And I don't think Cowing's going to get cut, man, because someone will pick him up.
Well, I didn't mean cut. I just mean like move down. I just don't you don't have room for him. He ran a 4.38, which was fantastic. I think his total combine wide receiver ranking was wide receiver 17. So it wasn't like he did bad, but he's also 168 pounds, 5'8". Yeah. 5'8", 168 pounds, bro. We've seen Tank Dell in those, but this isn't Tank Dell. Like he doesn't come out profiling as the one guy that's going to break the mold for, Worthy's also very small, but those guys are higher prospects, so they're going to get a shot. The problem with a small guy like this is like the low draft capital in round 4 makes it very unlikely that teams are going to weather through growing pains of him being small. Like whereas Tank Dell was drafted so high that they were going to be as patient as they needed to be for him. That's what draft. If anybody wants to know why draft capital matters, like that's why it matters. Like you're going to get. It's kind of like saying you hire somebody at a business and a job, and you give them a salary job that's guaranteed for a year, and then you hire some temp who's getting paid and you don't owe them anything for the next month. If the temp messes up, you'll just get rid of them. If the salaried person messes up, you'll try and train them, get them on track. You'll stay with them, So it's the same thing with some of these teams with draft capital. So a 2nd rounder, 3rd rounder, they're paying them more. They invested more, and so they give them more of a shot. And that's why sometimes it's kind of unfortunate in this copycat league that if a guy goes undrafted like Frank Gore, everybody, thank God he got picked up by Buffalo. But if Buffalo cuts him, there's a good chance every other team in this copycat league all in unanimous fashion go, well, if he didn't get drafted and they cut him, something's wrong with him. It's like as cheesy as draft day is, some of that stuff is real. Like these guys will call each other. Hey, Bob, is there something wrong with Frank Gore Jr.? I just want to know why you cut him. As if the guy's supposed to give him any sort of information that's going to help his team, a rival. But the NFL's weird, bro. I've heard from a lot of people that work within organizations of these teams that draft day was a lot more accurate than you would think, just in terms of the way these teams communicate. But anyway, I will say Ricky Parasol, I gave your team, your Niners, a really bad offseason score. I think you guys mismanaged the entire offseason. I will say your second half of your draft was pretty good. Your beginning was bad.
Are you talking about also free agency was mismanaged?
I'm talking about your entire offseason, given that you didn't handle just the Ayuk situation alone gives you a D- no matter what you did. But you guys were always quiet. in the offseason for at least initially. You guys are always like, why are we signing any of these guys? Like even in the private chat.
The thing is, we had to cut Armstead, which makes sense why we couldn't go out and,
You didn't have a lot of money. You didn't have a lot of money at first, too, though. Then you restructured Kittle, and who else did you restructure? It was Kittle.
Juice, I believe, and I think Hargrave, I believe.
Yeah, so you restructured two different people, and you kind of almost got middle of the pack and money available, but then it quickly dried up. But
I just think the Niners are waiting for that Armstead money to come to them. And,
but you asked me, am I judging all of your offseason moves? You didn't really have much to go on. You didn't really have much to do because you're out of money. Which I wouldn't judge your offseason on. I'd say, okay, I factor that in. But the only thing I have to judge is the misuse or the mismanagement of the Ayuk situation, which all I hear from Niner fans is that that's just the Niner way. Well, the Niner way is not working.
Yeah, it is the Niner way. But, I get what you're saying, though. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with the wide receiver room. I think probably Cowling anyways gets redshirted. We'll see.
He's a good prospect.
Be an interesting.
I think the problem for you guys though moving forward is you're going to lose McCaffrey. You're going to lose pieces of McCaffrey. He's going to fall apart slowly.
Yeah.
Kittle. Who knows how long Kittle has left? Debo, I give him a year or two. And even though I say that, I really much think a team
could get traded next offseason.
I think a team that gets him has a 2 to 3 year window. So the Buffalo Bills need to acquire him now and try and win a Super Bowl because he does have a 2 to 3 year window. Give Debo more mileage for one more year. All of a sudden, it becomes a little riskier because so. Anyways, your Niner team it's the window's closing, no doubt about it. But you have such a surplus of talent on all sides of the ball. Partly because of Adam Peters, this year over year adding talent through the draft. You guys have your first draft without Adam Peters, and you end up with Ricky Parasol in round 1. Miss Dijon, who was the pick that your entire fan base wanted, and the Niners seemed to want, and your Mike Silver 49er beat writer, reporter, Twitter guy reported you took Dijon. And I don't think that just came out of his rear end. I think he heard something that maybe somebody inside the organization was feeding. I think everybody's got that, right? Because Schefter or Rappaport would say live on the air, we're hearing that they're going this direction, but it isn't done yet. And so how are they getting this information? Some of that we don't know, but there are teams that 100% Schefter knew that they were considering, they were closing in, and it wasn't concrete or announced yet, but they were going that direction. And I don't know how he knew some of this and how he didn't know it for every team, but that part of me makes me believe that Dijon was the pick. You guys were heading in that direction. Someone jumped the gun, and then Silver reported on it, and then all of a sudden you guys panicked and you took Ricky Parasol, and Buffalo was inching down into round 2 so they could get a deal done, when the draft closed, the bell rung, and so going into day 2. All I'm going to say is Adam Peters would have never let that happen.
Yeah, I know that whole thing was I was like, wait, what? That's so shocking. But it is what it is now.
Dude, number 12, wide receiver. Okay.
But alrighty.
Okay, Jonathan Coble, thank you, media. I appreciate you, bro. Later.
See ya.
Coble says going rebuild with this team. Traded Higgins, Godwin, Conklin, Boyd, and 25 late 4th for 1.6, 2.6, 3.6, and the late 25 late 2nd. So 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6. You traded Higgins, Godwin, Boyd. I like that if you land that 1.6, which I think you will. If you need an RB and you get Benson, I love that. I love Benson over Higgins. And then I trade all that for the future first rounder. Sure. I'm okay with that. Oh, no, you don't have a future first rounder. It's a late 2nd. I still do it. I still rather have Benson or whoever you're getting at 1.6. I Smitty approved that. Let me go over to Scuba, then to Ron Navy. Scuba, you're live.
Hey, Smitty, wanted to talk to you because I saw you doing your rankings. What do you have Jermaine Burton? Because, especially with this whole T. Higgins stuff, if he does get end up getting traded, I feel like he could definitely bump up there. And just like reading him up on him like before the draft and everything, like since he came out of Alabama, they said that he had some good route running, and he said that he's one of the better route runners in this draft, and he's also going to be tied to Joe Burrow. So I think that definitely has some upside. I think. How do you think of it? What do you think about him?
Yeah, anytime, and again, I'm not like the biggest advocate of draft capital always telling the story. Like, I'm a big defender of, like, stop saying somebody can't be good because of draft capital. I hate when people act like somebody can't break the mold. It does make it harder. But on the flip side, anytime you're a high draft capital player, you just get more time. There's more investment. So given that he went in the top 3 rounds, that's really good. That's really good for, I think, Charlie Jones still has some appeal and upside. I still like him. There's also the other guy there in Cincinnati. I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, Jermaine.
Iosovas.
You what?
Andre Iosovas.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So there's
that'd be a good video if you did like Coleman, because Gabe and Diggs already left, and then you already have Ayuk and Ayuk and the other guy on the trade block, Higgins. So just saying.
Yeah, Jermaine Burton's got some upside and appeal though. I would say, but I don't know. I mean, he's definitely like in the 3rd round of a fantasy football draft though. Like he's definitely deep. That's a 3rd or 4th round guy. Very good one. Especially if you have deep benches, like grab him. No doubt about it. Like Frank Gore Jr., Jermaine Burton. Trying to think of like other players that fit that very, very late bill.
Would the Patriots guys fit that late?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Baker. Yeah, Baker 100%. And he'll probably, to be honest with you, I don't know that he'll actually fit that bill entirely because there are a lot of people that like him. He's kind of a dynasty favorite, dynasty darling. A lot of people want to jump on that train. He's got 4th round draft capital, but I think they like him enough, and I think if I remember correctly, they traded up to get him. Does anybody remember if they traded up to make that pick? Travis is coming on right now. Maybe Travis knows. I think they did. And anytime a team trades up and drafts a player, Travis, do you remember if they traded up for Javon Baker?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they either got it with their 4th rounder or the 4th rounder they got from moving back.
Yeah, it definitely was a traded pick, and that's probably where I'm remembering that. But he's definitely an intriguing player. 4th round prospect, Javon Baker, but he's definitely not going to be as deep as the Niner guy that media was talking about, or the player you're speaking of. I think Baker is going to be. Like some will say, I like Baker over Polk, and so you're going to start hearing stuff like that. So Baker's going to be highly touted. I don't think he'd go in top of 2nd round or anything, but I mean he'll be somebody that people are pumping up. Like, this is the guy, I found the gem. People are really excited about him. Brandon.
Well, Smitty, also too. I don't know if you saw his. I think it was like after he got drafted, he said people that are in wheelchairs, they're gonna get you popcorn, because the people that are in wheelchairs, they're gonna be standing up when they watch me on the field. So I think that a lot of people will definitely look at him now.
I don't know about that comment.
Baker might be the more talented prospect, but they more for culture reasons. Like They see it in him that he wants to win games. Like that's what they want to build.
That's a wild comment, though.
That's nation.
Yeah, that's wild. Travis, while you're here, and then I'll go back to Ron. Travis, what do you got?
It was actually, you kind of just covered it. I was going to ask you basically a similar question. Like out of the, from say like the 3rd or 4th round on, who do you see being the highest, ceiling guys, or the guys that would be able to pop this year? But you kind of just covered it, you named off a few of those guys.
Yeah.
I guess the other question would be like tight end wise. Do you think like aside from Bowers, and I guess aside from like Jatavion Sanders too, because he was taken. Well, he wasn't taken in the 4th round.
Sinnett's the number. Sinnett's the number 2 now. Yeah.
Sinnett was the number 2. Right.
He's the number 2 now. Yeah, I don't
so
have
what do you
Sanders.
think of like Sanders or Stover went to the Texans? I think, but he might be interesting in the future. I guess when if Schultz is.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Was there any tight ends that stood out to you?
I'll be honest. I'm not really big on after the big 3 tight ends. I'm not feeling it at all. Like maybe my mind changes. I'm not closing the book on it. I don't feel it. I don't.
Who was your 3rd?
Well, Sanders is now my 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a big gap between Sanders and Sinnett now. Big gap. Tremendous.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because Washington, the fact that Washington drafted him, the fact that Adam Peters wanted him, the fact that there's an opening and potential pathway for him to become the number 1 there, and the fact that when they called him, they said, we love what you're doing, we love how you play, we want you to be a part of this team. We can't be more. I mean, they said it to everybody when they drafted him, but like they went out on a limb talking about this kid. And I believe him, and I believe that Peters is when Peters called him and talked to him, I got a sense that especially given they took him at 53 overall, he's a 2nd round pick. He was in the middle, essentially a little bit past the middle of round number 2. That is all you need to know. That's a massive investment, and I forget if they traded up for him too. I know it was a traded pick, but Sinnett definitely. A lot of people, I don't want to say half of everybody, but a lot of people think he's better than Bowers, which is crazy to hear at first. But I watched a lot on him, and he's really good. He's not Bowers. I disagree. But maybe his situation makes him better. Remember how Michael Mayer and Kincaid felt like they prospected a little bit better than Laporta, but Laporta went to the better situation. And sometimes you go to a better situation and you develop very quickly and you turn into something completely different. Laporta turned into like a 10x of what he prospected to be. He was definitely a good prospect, but so is Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave was probably the best metrics and prospect type guy out of the entire tight end class. The most athletic, the biggest, he had all the metrics, but he couldn't stay healthy. A lot of rookie tight ends can't. Laporta, sometimes you just go to your home, you get watered, and just you blossom. And Laporta just flourished. And he turned into something that he could have been. I mean, he had that potential, no doubt, but he definitely grew in ways that you couldn't necessarily see fully. You thought it's possible. Sinnett could bloom and blossom into Laporta, and Bowers could remain the Pitts or Kincaid, where we're waiting on it, and Sinnett does it right out of the gate, and everyone's like, why are you waiting on this when Sinnett's doing what Laporta just did? So kind of open-mindedness, I think, is needed for Sinnett versus Bowers, even though I really prospect Bowers higher.
And they are different types of tight ends too. Like Bowers definitely falls more under that big slot receiver that plays tight end, can block a little bit too, kind of like Kincaid actually. But whereas Sinnett, I think Sinnett's probably a good blocker as well. He's got huge size,
very
6'4",
very good blocker. Oh, I remember what Adam Peters said that makes me, just think of upside. Is he said, we love what you're doing. Like, in so many words, I'm not getting it exactly word for word, but he said, we love the way you play. I love the way you block. I love the way you do all these things. And then he said, you remind me of another guy that I drafted in San Francisco named George Kittle. And so he said a couple things like, I think, you're going to be that for us. And so when he said that, and considering the 2nd round draft capital, and given they have JD5, and given they have Kingsbury, air attack, and I know Kingsbury, you could say he may or may not use Sinnett, we'll see. But very, 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 very amazing prospect. All right, hold on one second. I'm probably going to cycle everybody off. Let me first go to Ron and see if Ron's been waiting a while. Ron, you got anything else you want before I start going around the horn, cycling people off?
Yeah, I don't know what draft grade you gave Buffalo, but I give them a D.
Let me just pull their draft up. And you know, I don't want to say I give him a D, but I definitely I don't feel like it's an A or a B.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong in being underwhelmed. And even more so, I guess I would say, and this goes to show how good Josh Allen's going to have to be to win a Super Bowl this year, which is why when you heard me talk earlier, I said I think Mahomes is going to three-peat, or Mahomes or the Ravens potentially with the added Derrick Henry, or maybe Stroud, or Ron. I even gave your Steelers, I don't know if you're there, I even gave your Steelers props. I said there's a way that the Steelers with Fields, if Fields gets in there, and the way that they improved the offensive line, they already got to round 1 without a quarterback. So, like, there's options. I didn't want to leave anybody out and piss anybody off, because I really think anybody
could.
The reason
I give them a D. The reason I give them a D is not for necessarily the players they drafted. It's for what they allowed Kansas City to do and make it easier for Kansas City to repeat. That move they made was the stupidest move in the draft, to trade with Kansas City, let them come up and get Worthy. That was plain stupid. Interdivision, you face them, you're going into maybe the championship game against them. You just gave them a weapon that could beat them.
Okay, so I kind of agree with you, and I kind of am unsure if I fully believe that Worthy's going to be, like, here's the problem. I didn't necessarily have Worthy as my best receiver on the board at that point. McConkey was. So I think that I agree with you in the sense that, okay, you punted, right? And I think, Ron, I'm almost positive they moved down to buy time to make a Debo, specifically a Debo trade or Ayuk trade. And when they didn't get it done, I think they moved down again to get out of round 1, and they wanted to go right to the very top so they could, so that they could have the first pick of all the wide receivers. And they said, let's try and get Debo over the course of the evening once the round 1 closes and we have the entire. I think they botched that, and that goes to having a bad draft. Like, you mess that up, you mess it up. But honestly, at that point, I remember I have some Bills fan pages and buddies that I'm friends with different Bills. I've told you guys I have like different cliques and communities with different fan bases. And when one of my Bills buddies, I messaged him, and I went on his live on Instagram and watched. I didn't go on, but I watched him. I go on with him a lot. We talk Bills stuff, but I went and watched him, and he was like all down, and his whole community was down. And I was like, bro, there's a chance you're getting Debo because of this. Like, they all didn't see that. And it didn't end up happening, but they're all upset. And I said, though, in this chat, and I said to him privately, I'm like, if they don't end up getting Debo or Ayuk, which definitely might be the case, that they don't work out a deal, McConkey was still my number 1 wide receiver when they were on the clock before they made both of the trade downs. But the fact that they didn't take Lab McConkey now makes me feel like they did mess up, but I don't think I would have taken Worthy over McConkey. So I agree with you at the end of the day. Like, it's not that I don't like Keon Coleman, and I want to be fair and give him a chance, because he's a really good receiver in many ways. I just feel like he's like one of those guys that I want to hit the field and prove us all wrong and mature and grow in a way that you couldn't see as a prospect. And it's certainly possible with Josh Allen that he turns this kid into a freaking amazing player. But I really want a McConkey there. I really thought if the Bills drafted McConkey, you have McConkey, Kincaid, you had this really crafty team. And so I don't disagree with you. And I'm a very objective Cardinal and Bills fan. I believe I'm.
We know what Mahomes did with Tyreek Hill. He's going to do the same thing with Worthy.
Probably.
He just that type of quarterback that'll make a good receiver out of him. And
I would give
the only way I push back is Hardman and Sky Moore, though. They've tried that. Before,
but they're not as
Yeah, but I kind of agree with Travis in the sense that if I totally agree with your stance on Worthy alone, like, and again, Ron, we're in agreement that Buffalo ended up taking a swing and missing though,
I
because
agree
they
with him,
didn't
too.
they didn't grab my receiver I wanted. But I wouldn't have drafted Worthy, so I don't think that part. I don't have a problem with the Niners or the Chiefs getting Worthy, because I wouldn't have just taken him because the Chiefs were going to take him. I like him.
Say for Buffalo Worthy. I think somebody else might have taken Worthy before the Chiefs if they wouldn't have traded with him.
Okay.
There would have been another
Okay.
team in between there that could. Worthy.
Okay.
Buffalo could have still picked the receiver that.
How many
at that
picks did
point,
they
they
move
could
up?
still pick the receiver.
I hear you on that, and again, I believe I'm a very objective, Bill and Arizona Cardinal fan, and I think the Cardinals smashed, and I think the Bills didn't. Not only did the Bills not smash the draft, they get and I know they didn't have a lot of money either, too, because they've taken this huge dead cap hit from the Diggs situation, but the fact that they didn't make a bold trade for Debo, if they had turned this into a Debo Samuel trade, it would have not only taken their offseason, which they're like, judge us after the draft, it would have turned their offseason in retrospect, turned back the clock and dated it backward into a A or a B, at least a B plus entire offseason. So not getting Debo, and maybe they still trade for Debo, who knows, but I don't think they will. They're the one team that would, though. The Buffalo Bills and the Ravens, I feel like, are the one team still able to maybe make a Debo trade right now. But if they don't get Debo, then I don't know. I guess I would give them like a C offseason in the entirety, and I give them a C. I just give them C's across the board. I don't think this was an awful draft. I like Ray Davis. I like that they brought in Frank Gore right after the draft ended. I think that was fantastic. I think a lot of these picks, even Keon Coleman, we got to wait and see. I think he was a lot of scouts number 4 wide receiver. So, like, they did draft a top 5 wide receiver according to a lot of people. I don't think we could give him an A, and I could see not giving him a B because of what they did with the Chiefs and all that, but I definitely can't give him a D. But I get what you're saying. It makes sense. But
I think you're right about Gore, because running backs go to Buffalo to die, or not even get on the field or get a chance, because Buffalo stinks with running back.
We need him.
Usage of them, and
we need to bring him in and then send him out, and then he'll be amazing wherever he goes. So let's let him free.
They're already talking about, he could be a practice squad guy. That's what they're already talking about.
Yeah, I'm afraid they're going to cut him, and then other teams are going to just look at him like he's there's something wrong with him, and I hate the way teams do that, and they all copy each other, and there's very few teams that think outside the box. I think I think Peters, I think Caserio, I think the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot of organizations, even the Steelers. Those are all teams that could potentially look past it and bring him in. Yeah, James Cook. Just for anybody that thinks Ron's running his mouth on this, I've talked a lot about the Buffalo Bill running back situation. And Marsman Rockout left. Marsman Rockout, appreciate you, bro. If you needed anything else, let me know. I'm gonna cycle everybody off the phone line real quick, but let me pull on James Cook's game log. But if you look at James Cook's game log, he was in week 1 running back 28, week number 2 running back 12, week number 3 running back 18, 13, 35, 33, 8, 33, 31, 23. And while he did have a good stretch, one good game here in week 7 as running back 8, and then he had a good game in week 11 as 10 and a decent one in week 12 as 12, and then 3 and 2 he went back to 49, 48, and what was that one? It's 32.
Only 2 rushing touchdowns still.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a really, really bad
motion detected at the front door.
Team for consistent running back production, and they really haven't proven they're going to change that. So when people say, "Hey, Smitty, where's the James Cook video?" I'm like, "You really want me to create a James Cook video? Because it's going to be a bad one." This is not the running back you want to trust in 2024. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, if anything, he didn't even end well. He ended week 16, week 17, week 18 as one of the worst running backs in the National Football League. And he started off the first, 10 weeks of the season as one of the very worst, if not the worst, running back in the National Football League, behind, I think, only Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is going to be garbage, in my opinion, in LAC. For the cost of entry, if he's going to even go high, if he's free, if people don't buy into it. But Gus Edwards had a horrible efficiency as well. And he was in a pretty damn good situation. He was fed multiple touchdown games. Part of me wonders what that's going to look like in the end of the day for Henry, if Henry does even lose another step. But Gus Edwards, let me show you Gus Edwards. You're going to be amazed at how bad Gus Edwards was last year, because a lot of people don't remember this. They just think, oh no, he had to have had a lot of great games. He didn't. His
I think toward the end of the season he did good.
No, he didn't. I got it right here. He did not. I got it right here.
Barely had 4 yards of carry.
He was running back. Look at this. This is the worst running back in the National Football League, people. You're looking at the worst running back. 45, 22, 47, running back 35, running back 37, running back 37, running back 6, running back 3, and then running back 11, 30, and then 6. So he did have 3 good games. He had in week 7 he's running back 6, week 8 he was 3, then he was running back 11, then he was 30, then he was 6. So this little stretch right here from week 7 through 11,
How many carries did he have? So I think Henry's going to get fed the ball.
He didn't have more than 80 yards in the game, though. It was 13 touchdowns. That's where all of his value came from.
Yeah, so
it's good for Henry. Good outlook for Henry. But.
So and then he was running back 48, running by week, running back 63, running back 17, 18, 29, and then 52. So there were 3. So the point is, there were 3 good games last year for Gus Edwards. 3 good games, and granted, he wasn't used as the full-time guy the entire way. There was, obviously rotation going on, but if I
played even more it though.
What?
Justice Hill, and Justice Hill they gave the ball to, and then that what's his name?
Keaton Mitchell was.
But if he was good enough, he'd take the job.
Yeah. And to be honest, though, Ron, I'm looking at his carries. He has no excuse. He had 200 carries on the season. So you're talking about if I'm reading his carry totals right, he's getting starter work for a majority of the year. So he's got 8 carries, 10 carries, 11 carries, 15, 12, 16, 14, 19, 5, 11, 12, 8, 6, 16, 9, 16, 10. And then, the targets are there, so he's on the field.
I think he got a lot of the carries down by the goal line, though, too.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, this guy, what did this guy bring to the table that made Harbaugh say, all it was, hey, my brother. You bring JK with you? You mind bringing JK with you? I don't understand what the hell they're doing. And it's not like Harbaugh can't get the most out of him. I'm not saying that. But why in the hell wouldn't you want Harbaugh, who's this mastermind running, architect, right? Trenches, building from the trenches, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to be fantasy friendly, but can he win with it? Sure. But why in the hell would you not say, hey, Harbaugh, given how you're good at you are at this, and you're going to run the hell out of the ball, what do you say we bring in? I mean, this is a crazy idea, but what do you say we bring in a Barkley or a Jacobs and do that on top of this? That part, it doesn't compute for me. There was somebody that said something about Harbaugh. They said one reason Harbaugh is so much better in college than he is in the pros is they said a lot of his players get tired of the Harbaugh way after about 2, 3, 4 years, and people graduate out, and then new people come in, and so they start to okay, the rah. And it's rah. It's always lessons and everything, and so these young kids are impressionable, but then by the time the 4 years are up, they're done with it. And so I've heard from a number of people that in the pros in San Francisco, the veterans and players that were there for more than 2 or 3 years, more than a college season, they got sick and tired of the ways he approaches certain things. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying it's unorthodox, and it doesn't. You can't tell me it's better to have Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins if you're going to be run heavy than to have Barkley, Jacobs, or Henry and be run heavy. That's all I'm saying. There's no excuse in my mind to bring in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, who ironically both played with your brother. That neither one of them have. Both injury prone, both all ACL team. J.K. Dobbins has zero shot of doing anything because he's coming back from an Achilles tear last year. So I don't understand the genius that is Harbaugh. I'm not saying it won't work, but I have yet to see the genius. I have yet to see it. He let Keenan Allen go for a ham sandwich. He let Mike Williams and Everett walk, which doesn't bother me too much. It's just more things. Let Eckler go away. Doesn't bring in an elite running back, brings in 2 injury-prone running backs, has nobody else to show for, doesn't draft neighbors. I don't know.
He drafted a running back very high either.
Doesn't it?
You what?
Oh, he's building a college team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make a bold prediction. I say that Emmitt Smith will score 12 touchdowns this year. Just joking. I know Emmitt Smith has been well retired.
All right, Navy.
Dad joke. We got a lot of dad jokes.
Smitty, I got a question for you. You want to switch over topics real quick?
Who's this? Brian?
Yeah.
All right, Brian, this is your last thing because I got to get out of here.
Gotcha. I'm coming up in the 3rd round. I need running back, tight end, but it's only a 10-team league. There's still Penix on the board. There's still Leggett. I know you like him. He's still on the board. But we got, we got Sinot, which I want. And, Jalen Wright, who I was questioning, which I love. Because
where are you going, bro? Where are you going underwater? What happened?
No. Oh. Why?
It sounded like you were taking a dip. You went under for a dunk and then came up. Okay, yeah, so is it? I don't know. Is it a 1 QB, bro?
No, Superflex.
Okay, so I mean, it's Superflex. Penix Jr. I don't know how you.
I got Kyler, Gino, got May, and Levis.
I still don't think you pass on Penix Jr. in a Superflex. And then you said Leggett. Who else is on the board? Sinnott.
Sinnott, who I'm highly considering. Jalen Wright.
Is it premium? Tight end premium?
No.
Okay, I'm going Penix Jr., bro. Put your Penix Jr. on the board. Put your Penix on the board.
Just get all the.
You ain't gonna hold on to him for 2.
Put your Penix on the board, bro.
Yeah.
I could say, never mind. Okay, that's what I would do.
So I'm up in 3 picks, so those 3 guys could be gone, honestly. But
yeah. Okay, so let me rank them. I'd say Penix, then Leggett would be from this list here. I don't know if you said somebody else, and I'm sorry, but Penix Jr., Leggett, then probably Sinnott, and then Wright of those 4.
Yep.
All right, later, bro.
I mean, that's really only one I'm worth it.
All right, yeah, Penix Jr. for sure, man. I mean, it's a super flex. You could trade him. All right, later, bro.
Exactly.
All right, later.
Okay. Later, man.
Let's see. Scuba Steve, final thoughts.
Hey, Smitty. So, final thoughts I got is, what do you? Is there any other sleepers that you got? That like, cause
it's a vague question.
I did listen to Ron Navy talk about Roman Wilson, and one thing I can say about the Steelers is that it seems like every time that they always draft a wide receiver, that more often than not they usually become good. So I don't know if that's like
look at him greasing Ron Navy up. You know how to get
it's like a dynasty.
You know how to get to Ron's heart, greasing Ron Navy up. Look, I mean, it's a vague question. So let me just give you a few names. Garendo, okay? Maybe he becomes something in San Francisco. That's a very, very deep call. Brandon Rice, maybe he does something. Jerry Rice's son. Roman Wilson, I think he's not really a sleeper, but to be honest with you, I don't think people are going to be as high on him as like Ron is and other people. Like, he's still going to be kind of off some radars to a degree, but that's a little bit higher up. Sinnott obviously is great. He'll be off some radars and on some. A.D. Mitchell, I think some people will just think he's going to be the 2. He still could be, but that's, we talked about Baker from New England. We talked about, obviously Polk is ranked higher than him, but they're both very, very good. Ricky Parasol in San Francisco, Malachi Corley in New York, Ray Davis, Shipley in Philly. He's backing up, Will Shipley's backing up Barkley. He's kind of interesting. Ray Davis is in Buffalo. Garendo's the one that I kind of like the most. And, San Francisco took some guys, as you noticed, San Francisco took a couple guys I like. Brandon Rice, that's a legacy pick, a bloodline pick for Jerry Rice. But Garendo is a good pick, and Ricky Parasol. They're all really, really, really good players. It's almost like you ripped their first rounder away from them, and they started in round 2, just the way that all went down. Marshawn Lloyd is pretty crafty. Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler, and Jordan Travis.
All right.
But,
and Mitchell, because he fell. Is there any concerns that you have for him? Because a lot of people had him at ranked pretty high before
a lot of teams.
Now he's just. Is something wrong with him?
Rasheed Rice is scaring everybody away from A.D. Mitchell. He has a lot of potential off the field, or he has the most off the field concern. So that's what happened.
Oh, all right, yeah, because I saw they said something about like personality and that some people say that he gets mad when he has diabetes or something.
That's what I just said though. Yeah, it's the Rasheed Rice fear factor. Everyone's scared of it, but Indy said enough's enough. He fell too far. We'll take him, and I don't blame him. He's got a lot of upside, but there does seem to be a little bit of that this is the next Kadarius Toney. Unbelievable talent. But, will it all come through? Because you can rip on Kadarius Toney all you want. He is one of the more gifted physically receivers in the National Football League. I don't think we have to go backwards and tear that part of our evaluation down in retrospect. Problem is, he is such a head case that he can't even catch the football. He's so in his own head, and he's so twitchy. He's got Tyreek Hill ability to change directions and run this way, run that, stuff you cannot train or teach or learn. And Veach likes him. And Veach is one of the best GMs and talent scouts in the National Football League in KC. That's why they're so good. And he even still said to this day, he said, we still believe he's our number 1 wide receiver, like he said the other day. And I'm not going to buy into it again. I really won't. But I'm merely suggesting that A.D. Mitchell feels like that. We'll never see it maybe come to fruition. But I think he's worth a shot. It just depends. You're talking about very late in the draft, bro. All right, I got to go, bro. Appreciate you. Grendo, that's my deepest call I can give you. And I like Ricky Parasol. Later.
Later, man. Yeah, great one, man.
Travis and Ron, you guys got any final thoughts, either one of you?
Nah, I'm all set. You coming back later or probably not?
I'm gonna try to draft. It's a little late, but I'm gonna try.
All right, I'll see you if you do. Thanks,
right.
man.
Later, Travis.
See you, Ron.
Bye. Later.
Ron,
my
maybe.
One dynasty.
What?
Traded Kincaid for Bowers. Then I basically only had 2 picks, and then I picked up Franklin.
You traded Kincaid for Bowers.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel on that one. I don't know how I feel on that one right now. I'm not saying you made a mistake. I'm not saying you did. It's I think the majority of the chat right now is going to say they'd rather have Kincaid because everyone seems to hate Bowers' landing spot. And on these rankings here, everyone seems to consensus think I have Bowers too high, which I understand. I'm not mad at that thinking. I think Bowers is a tough guy to rank right now, but I think the big picture wise, LV's creating something solid, and I think that in Dynasty he will be fine. And I still very much believe Bowers, he's one of the best tight end prospects, if not the best tight end prospect we've seen since Kyle Pitts. I don't think The only thing that's changed is people are mad he doesn't have an elite quarterback. But, like, who's thinking that Pierce is not going to fix that at some point? You know what I mean? So, but Kincaid is, God, he's got a special place in our heart.
Yeah, Mitch there.
Yeah.
She's there. And O'Connell, only his second year. So some of these guys, some of these quarterbacks take 2 to 3 years to develop. Look, I mean, even Jordan Love didn't have it right away. He had to develop some.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Chat, Kincaid or Bowers? Bowers, Kincaid, Dynasty. Drop your opinion. I'm not so quick to say Bowers won't have an elite quarterback 1 or 2 years from today. Not to mention, what if Tom Brady comes back? Everybody acts like it's impossible. You know, Bowers all of a sudden to the moon. You know, so I kind of feel I'm torn on that.
Exactly.
I love both of them, so I don't think you made a mistake. I think it's a fun gamble. All right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, later on. Appreciate the 20. Oh, yeah, thank you for the $20. Guys, if you got a membership from Ron, gifted, let me just look, gifted memberships, gifted 20 from Ron. I'll put that on screen here. And they gifted, let me see if anybody did any others. Gifted 10. I'll search for gifted 5. I have to do a manual search on this. Okay, thank you. And thanks, Ron. Appreciate that.
Yep, later.
And then this is I Want a Boat. He says, could you have a live mock sleeper draft with the users? Yeah, I can, Boat. Boat, are you still here? I'll definitely do some mock drafting on sleeper. No doubt about it, bro. We'll do a lot of those this offseason. We won't do all underdog drafts. In fact, we usually do one mock draft across the top on sleeper while we do a draft on underdog here. So we do, and it's not confusing because I'm not jumping back and forth between two on my screen. They're two different drafts on screen at the same time. So it won't be that confusing. Kincaid easily, says Postman. Bowers long-term, says Jonathan. Bowers, says Hazelnut. Kincaid, says Dave. I think Bowers is a higher upside. Kincaid, says Lone Sentinel. It's pretty torn, Ron. Hazelnut seems to know Tom Brady personally because he says Brady's 47, highly doubtful he comes back. I'm just kidding, Hazelnut. But it is funny how invested people are in saying he won't come back. Like, you don't know, Hazelnut. I don't think you can genuinely say it's highly unlikely. He's made it really clear he's in the best shape of his life, and he said like 5 times this offseason that coming back, if he got the call, would be highly considered. And he's out there posting on Twitter his 40-yard dash. He posted his combine run against his run in this year. He ran against himself, and he beat himself at the combine. You know, when they overlaid him. Like, I don't know where you would come up with highly unlikely when he's been nothing but saying he kind of wants to come back. So that's all I'm saying. I love you though, Hazelnut. Appreciate you. Kincaid, vote by OEG. Double R, appreciate you. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Appreciate you all. See you all later. Probably tonight. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. If we do go live tonight, we will be dropping a draft. That link is in the live chat. I'm going to drop it right this very second. Here it comes. It's also in the description of the video. Underdog will match up to $100 on your first deposit. So hit that link. Do it live. Appreciate every single one of you. Until tonight or tomorrow. If there's breaking news, we'll go live tonight for sure. But if there's no breaking news, we'll try and do a draft. No doubt. See you all later. I appreciate you, Hazelnut. He does want to come back, though. You can see it. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you moderating. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Space Ricky. Thank you, Sick Nasty. See you later, D-Town. See you, Hazelnut. See you, OEG. I hope Theo's not mad at me. I laid into Theo's your rankings are whack comment pretty hard. But I felt it was needed. See you, Matt Slater. Mark B, appreciate you. Rock out, appreciate you. Theo, I appreciate you too, Theo, if you're out there. John, we'll see you later. Hazelnut, appreciate you. H, we'll see you later. D-Town, we'll see you later. Double R, thank you. Prime, see you later. Postman, see you later. Hunt, we'll see you later. Dave, Matto. Thanks again, Travis. Thanks, Ron, for the super chats, the gifted memberships, all the good stuff. John W. Ray G. Bill the Tickler in the building. Coble, appreciate your super chat. Coble, great Scott. We'll see you later. Michael Horgan, we'll see you later. Thank you, Slater. And then my super chatters, WCOE33. Hopefully you saw my response. Ron Navy, Alan M, both dropping $20 haulers. Zach, Hoosiers, Jonathan Coble, Rock Out, Coble again, Deuces, I'm out of here. Oh, there are 2 super chats right here. Let Adam Peters cook. Rock Out, you still here? And then could Isaiah Spiller be a sneaky running back then? Says Coble. Coble, you still here? So these 2 questions, I'm sorry, I for some reason either didn't see these or they just came in. Let Adam Peters cook. Rock Out, are you still here, pal? Rock Out, definitely. I think Adam Peters is cooking 24/7. Thank you, Rock Out. You're the man. And Coble's still in here. Coble doesn't leave. He's not going to leave before the credits are done. Could Isaiah Spiller be a sneaky running back then? I say no, Coble. I say no. I say no. I say no. Thank you for rewinding Replay Squad. We need those people too. Dog, you're awesome, bro. Michael, appreciate you. Rock Out, the man. No, I don't like Spiller at all. I think his metrics were absolutely pitiful coming out of college, and he had one of the worst combines. But remember what I said? Guys can grow in weird ways when they hit the NFL, and maybe he's that guy, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to say negative Ghost Rider on that. Appreciate you, Coble. You're the man, the myth, the legend. All right, now I'm out of here.